Hello there. I hope you're having a great Friday. It's been a good one here in the Berkshires. It's beautiful out there. And you'll see as the sun catches the prism in my window that there'll be rainbows that go around the room. And so don't think you're losing your vision, or also don't think you're seeing orbs because they're quite literally just a reflection of the sun through the crystal. Pretty cool though. Today the the theme for me showed up during the week, and I'm so appreciative of that because sometimes I don't always know that what I want to talk about or expound on is of any interest. It is to me. I don't know if it is to others. So but this was showing up throughout the week, in various sessions, conversations with friends, and even a couple podcasts that I was listening to. So I thought that was pretty fascinating. So this week it's about tolerance. And I take a slightly different approach with this because I actually think that having low tolerance for something is a good thing. I feel like it's an indication of what may no longer be in resonance for someone. So we tend to take a firm line on, I have no tolerance for that. And that to me means we're not listening, right? There's no room for discussion. We're not even going to be open to what someone else may think. So I found myself this week, though, saying to someone that they didn't have to draw that hard line, right? They didn't have to make such a firm statement when it really was just about the other person's behavior that they no longer appreciated or lined up with. And nothing that put them in any danger or anything like that. So, because that does need a no tolerance line. So, what I said to her was, if you could have maybe low tolerance, which would allow you to see the situation, have a little compassion, and taking into consideration the other person's perception, point of view, like where they may be coming from, to the best of your knowledge. We can't 100% say that we know what someone else means or feels because we're not them. That if she had this low tolerance, meaning that she could become clear about what wasn't working for her, and then maybe get it into some communication style, get it into some verbiage that the other person could hear. Maybe they won't hear. My point with the compassion was that I feel like if we bring in compassion, we can honor all parties. So if someone is lecturing me or telling me how I need to think about something, I used to take that as a challenge. I'd take the bait. I would rise to it and say, nobody tells me what to think. And I would go in defensively rather than a place of, well, let me hear what you have to say, and then I'll consider whether it resonates or it makes sense to me, or it's just like so far out there that I just can't get on board with it. But having that compassion, it's helped me change my mind on a few things. It's helped me educate, become a bit more open to just how amazingly unique we're all wired. So when I suggested to her that she have compassion for the other person, it didn't go over well. And that's okay, because, if I was in a worked up state and someone said to me, oh, just love the other person, I might get a little ticked at the delivery person too. But I thought, what a great challenge to throw out there for this week. And, we are going into Mother's Day weekend, and whether you have a relationship with your mom or not, you had a mom at some point. You had a delivery method to get into this world, and it's a great space to throw in that compassion as well. So in the interactions that you're having in your life, I see so quick people are quick to just cut people out of their world. And I feel like that can cut a piece of ourselves out. And are we really learning anything if we aren't wondering where the other person is coming from, and being brave enough to ask? Because dialogue is where things get healed, I think. Um, you're going to most likely have an experience in your life where someone doesn't want to listen, and that's okay. That's their choice. So you can have compassion from a distance. Little Bette Midler song in there. So you can recognize that perhaps, say, a family member is you've been dealing with it for decades, and they just can't hear you, and they tell you who you are. I particularly love that one. um, or they feel like they could live your life better than you could live it. Rather than just cut them off and not have any contact with them, you could, um, one, remind them that you're an adult and that you're capable of leading your own life, and it may not always look like it lines up on the other side of the table, but it works for you. And or you can choose to not engage in a conversation and call that being compassionate. So, great line, when somebody's giving me advice that I really didn't ask for, but they feel like they are, I don't know, somehow privileged to offer, is I'll say, thank you, but that doesn't work for me at this time. Keeps it in the I place. I get to say that I'm considering my own journey. And it's not that I'm discounting what they have to say, but I know it just doesn't work for me at that moment. Um, the interaction, the delivery, all of that is up to you. And of course, if the relationship is abusive in any way, that you choose to walk away and you cut contact with. So this week, what I was seeing is the opposite ends of the spectrum. I was seeing some people who were saying, I'm just done. I'm not going to talk to them. I'm getting divorced. I'm cutting them out of my will. I'm just never going to talk to them again. To totally the other side of it, where somebody was over compassionate to the point where they were making excuses for poor behavior. And, we are unique, and we all have our experiences that compile into who we are. And to quote a friend of mine who's a psychiatrist, crazy exists. So there are some personality types that may just be difficult for us to interact with. And then there are all these different layers that we have. Where is your soul level? What Enneagram number you are? And if you're not familiar with that term, look it up and take the short quiz. It's a lot of fun. Oh my goodness, so much information. And it's ENNEAGRAM. And I'll put a link in the comments to the quiz. I'm writing it down so I don't forget, because that has helped me also create another tool for me to use in interacting with people. Rather than jumping to the reactive emotional space, I step back and I feel out and see if I can interpret what is the special, unique, Heinz 57 that makes them who they are. Well, anybody under 30 probably isn't going to get that reference, but hey, those of you over 30, run with it. So the swinging all the way to the other side, where you're so overly compassionate, there may be those types of hearts in the world, but I think we're all human. And to me, that often looks like you're just avoiding and not wanting to see what the characteristics of a person are, and that the behaviors have been going on for forever. And, as tuned in as I can be, I can often miss that in people in my circle. And previously, I'm pretty sharp on it now, but previously, because I just didn't want to admit that I could be surrounded by anybody who was a jerk. I didn't want to admit that. And then I always want the best for people. So even if they were showing me time and time again that they really didn't want that for me, I would make all kinds of allowances for their poor behavior. And I've decided lately that that's just not working for me. And there is an energy that's shifting in the universe where we are being encouraged, sort of like when you're walking along with like a 3 or 4 year old. They can walk on their own, but maybe we need to speed it up a little bit because we have to catch that plane or get out of the rain or whatever other rhyming words you can come up with. You put your hand at their back and you encourage them to go just a smidge faster. There is this feeling in the universe right now, and I've been watching this for a couple months now, where we're being gently guided by a collective energy, I believe, but also by our souls, to choose what's in the highest interest for each one of us individually. And that may not work out for whomever the partner is you are with at the time, your family members who just don't understand your weird ways of eating organically and, buying all natural products and that kind of thing. So you end up the weird one, right? So, but there's this push that's been happening that's asking us, do we really know what our own individual wiring is? And what is it that we are developing a lower tolerance for? And I had this experience. I was away last week, and there was a woman there who was sharing her views while we were, floating around on the noodles in the pool. And she was incredibly racist. And I usually, the mouth goes. But then what comes in behind it is this dialogue. I can hear my parents saying, respect your elders, shut your mouth, don't go there. And in that time, in this interaction I was having with her, I decided that, no, I have absolutely not just a low tolerance, but I have a no tolerance for this anymore. But how I deliver it can be respectful to where she may have been, how she was raised, what information may be there. And I simply said to her, this language is not okay with me. I suggested that perhaps it's not the person's race, perhaps it's their personality is the reason that you are having that interaction. And then I said, or it could be a reflection of the energy you're giving off and she's responding to you. But bottom line, I am not going to sit here and allow you to speak that way. I will remove myself from this dialogue. And I said it out loud, and I was so proud of myself because it shifted. I felt like I shifted from a place of being quiet about something and not standing for what I believe because of old messages, which were great. I'm glad my parents taught me manners. But at some point, you become part of the issue if you're not speaking up. So I felt like that was my moment of, maybe Vicky lost the rest of her edit button, so fair warning. But it really felt connected to like the whole universe when I did that, because I felt like I was honoring what I really feel inside. And I honestly didn't mind or care what this woman would think of me in speaking up to her. And then I also realized later, I had a pretty good chuckle about this, that the older you get, the closer the gap to those elders get. So maybe it's just a matter of removing the fact that somebody's been around the sun more times than you have, and recognizing, no, this is their essence. This is the person they are. And it's okay to walk away. Now, easy for me to do with someone I met that morning in water aerobics. that was fun. Um, but I've carried it through since I came back, and I'm no longer participating in the conversations where someone is talking of them about somebody else or putting someone down. I don't mind if we're working something out, but if you just want to talk about other people, I don't have a tolerance for that anymore unless they're complimenting and we're building them up. So that's my line, I guess, for this week. And the reason I bring it up is because we are all in process. Something that, bugged me 5 years ago probably isn't an issue now. And I've learned that it really can be someone else's stuff and we don't have to take it on. But if we're agreeing to the poor behavior, or the disrespectful comments and all of that, then we may as well be saying them ourselves. So I wonder where your lowering level of tolerance is. And if you could look at your own experience and how you are in the world and the shows that you watch and the music you listen to, and just how are you shifting? How are you growing? Are you going to take advantage of this gentle push? And it's gentle, it's not a tough one. Sometimes the energies come in, full bore, and they knock us off our feet, and they're like cosmic 2x4s that leave your head spinning. This is a very gentle energy, and it's here through the end of June. So you may want to harness that, right? To really look at what's going on in your life that no longer resonates. And are you brave enough to say it to someone else, to know yourself well enough to be able to speak from a place of empowerment, not judgy and not lecturing, because that just puts you in the other category? And are you able to come to it in an energy of compassion? And I want this to be for yourself too. So when the critic is running away in your head about what you haven't done well or what you may have done in the past, if you could take a moment and just feel it out and see are you that person today? Hopefully you've grown, and you're not. My feeling is if we look back on something and we say, I can't believe I did that, you've already grown, because you've already grown through as a result of the experience of whatever you went through. You grew because you now recognize that you wouldn't do that again. So if you could turn the compassion to self, that would be great too. Along with this little nudge is this message that I keep getting around our biological or adoptive, whatever our family of origin was, however you grew up. The aspect of not the aspect, but the reality of that's where you were, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's where you have to stay. And there's been this slight shimmying that's happening, I'm seeing in not only my own world, but in those who are coming in, and then, some other think tanks that I belong to, that people are starting to realize that this family of origin can be an amazing thing, but it can also be the thing that you need to see each individual person for who they are, and maybe decide that it is no longer in anyone's highest interest for you to have contact with them. And that's so hard, because it speaks to that primal part of us that feels infantile and on our own. And that's a little scary, but I want you to look in the mirror, remind yourself that you know how to dress yourself. You do have some teeth, and you have skills in this world, so you aren't alone unless you choose to be alone. Because sometimes the greatest step we can take for ourselves is to no longer participate in that family of origin story that keeps getting carried forward and that maybe needs to shift. So doesn't mean everybody, this is for those of us that have had um, just a challenging time in understanding, from whence we come, appreciating from what we had, and then maybe deciding that our soul family is where the connectiveness happens. And some of us are blessed, truly blessed, I feel, to have people who straddle that line. They're not only connected to the family of origin, but they're a soul family as well. It doesn't have to be a lump sum, where you wipe out the whole thing. So the decision to support self, sliding off my cushion, the decision to support self takes courage. But you know what? We're all here doing our own individual role and journey connected to others. There isn't one soul plan that I ever see that says the person has and the soul is coming in to operate as totally dependent on others for growth and all of that. So start seeing yourself as an individual and use this energy that's happening to ask us to be in our most knowing self, but also, and please know that will keep growing. It's not a definitive place. It's not a static place either. Once you think you know yourself, there's another layer that'll show up, which is fun, isn't it? It's an exciting discovery. So to wrap it all up, using the energy that's happening in the universe exponentially, because we're all asking for it. That's how things get created, is there's a desire that comes from within us, whether we make a cognitive connection to it or not. And this one is to show up, to be more knowing of who we are, to be less tolerant and passive about things going on around us, or conversations, or poor relationship skills. And then allowing that to take into consideration that there may need to be some shifts within your own family of origin, or the group that you're hanging out with now, or the job that you're at. It doesn't always have to be those family members. So thank you all for joining us. Joanna has said the concept negative has intrigued me lately to have value in my life. Not quite sure what that means. I don't really subscribe to the thing that something is negative, unless it's a battery. It's got a negative part to it. I truly believe that something may not resonate, and it may be there to help us line up with what we do want to see in our life. So you have that choice. So if you find yourself aligning or paying attention to what feels crappy, change it. Stop playing the volunteer. So thank you so much. I hope you have a brilliant weekend, and happy Sunday to everybody. Mother's Day to those who honor. I think we're supposed to do it every day. So these holidays that come up, if you have to be reminded to be nice to me as a mother, and if I need a holiday to validate that I'm a mother, there's probably something out of alignment there that could be worked on the other 364 days. But anyway you look at it, have a good time. There's a free race at Berkshire Community College, Berkshire Running Center. It's on their website. First race at 8:30. Come run with me. Will be for women only. The second one is community, and then there's one after that, I think at 10:30, for fun walk with the kids and stuff. So get out in your community, see if there's a soul family out there that you resonate with, and really, tap into this energy of the universe to help support you. You know who you are. You just need to listen to it. And sometimes that means stepping out of the old messages of your past and being willing to hear what the current ones are. So I'm here if you need help. And I wish you all the best. And I so appreciate that you watch and you share and that you ask other questions. So any other suggestions about subjects or things that you'd like to talk about, coaching, energy, any of the above, I'm happy to, speak to what I know. And I wish you all the best. Thank you very much. Bye.